um, proclivities, but there were a few that obviously were ill-placed, and even giving them feedback and so on, it was obvious that they were ill-placed. There's no way they could work as a team. And we had to take it from there in terms of how further developmental work and so on, and redeployments. I had made a case before in terms of when you have someone that is an implementer supervising someone that is a strategist, nothing will work. I had said before that you have only game changers. As much as game changing is at this point, it will be chaos, because people to anchor, you need implementers, those that are tasked to anchor this. You need polishers who believe in continuous improvement, those that are dotting the T's and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So also, if you have a team that do not have game changers strategies, there's a problem there. And of course, the playmaker is the orchestra that brings everybody together. So it was very, they're on the same page in terms of, but taking it beyond that, in this COVID-19 is the cultural aspect also, in terms of what are we going to value? What are the things that we need to value now? Is it hierarchy? Is it seniority? Or is it agility and innovation? And so on and so forth. And so, so that's what I can say about it.
Thank you very much.
Time limits. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nettie.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. What I'll do is just what I've been asked to do, just walk through a quick example, but let me just do that for you. So back to your question, firstly, about the CEO. And I've done lots of these tests. A simple question would be to ask them, how many business decisions have you made using those tests? So I'll give you an example where senior executive of SAP, for example, the technology firm, I said, I love MBTI. I've brought MBTI in the business, had it for 10 years. It's really helped me understand my individual people and teams. It's been great, but I've never made a business decision using MBTI. In 6 months, I've made 7 business decisions using the GC Index. So that's the shift, okay? And that's the shift. Some companies use MBTI and the GC Index together. They measure different things, and that's great. So when you're talking to your executive, what are you trying to get from this? What are you trying to measure? If you want to make business decisions, the GC Index is a good place to look at. Now, if I just share my screen, you asked me. So a couple of things. What the GC Index is interesting, obviously, at an individual level, and people will get a chance to try that. It gets very powerful when it moves up to a team level and then at an organizational level. It's an organization metric that allows you to align people to any business process. So this, through a digital transformation, this is an organization that's going through a digital transformation. These are 6 of their teams, 6 different teams going through the transformation. Here is the exec. Okay, this is your exec team. All right, brilliant, very strategic, good playmakers, very good at setting direction, very good at aligning direction, very good at taking people with them. Yeah. What we're not saying is, Mr. or Mrs. Executive, that you're rubbish at polishing and rubbish at game changing. We're not saying that. Okay. What we're saying is this is what you're good at, but how are you embracing new ideas that have been sent to you? How are you embracing change? Because look at your innovation team. Your innovation team is, as you would expect, full of ideas. Yeah, lovely ideas. And how are they connecting back up to the exec? This is the development team. Yeah, much more implementer polisher, roll stuff out, get things done, not particularly strategic. How are they communicating with the team? So you start to ask questions about. It's not innovation team going, oh, you lot are boring because you've got no ideas, and it's not development saying, oh, you lot are too crazy and don't understand the business, what we're trying to achieve. Yeah, they're both good at what they do, and it's working a language they can both communicate with each other. So in terms of what GC Index has resonated, it's over 1,000 clients now. We launched it in 2017. The research started in 2013, and EJ and Leading Edge are a master GC partner bringing it into Nigeria. So that's EJ has had the foresight to really take this international learning and bring it to Nigeria, and that this webinar today. But it works. We know it works. Been using hundreds of different transformations, 40 plus countries. Now, one quick example, the GC Index is also embedded into the global telecommunications digital maturity model. It's any telco, any telecommunications company looking to transform digitally, the GC is embedded into that digital maturity model, which we can talk about. We're going to use one example very quickly. It's Orange. Most people will know Orange. They're France Telecom, really, but they've moved into Orange around the world, helping them through their digital transformation. Now, this is Accenture's Digital Performance Index. This is just saying that Orange were sort of in the top 15 in all 4 DPI dimensions. So a very digitally advanced business over time. We worked with, at the time, was their group CIO, Pascal. He's now the board level advisor, CEO advisor for Orange. And this is what he said. It's given us an opportunity to understand what these game changers bring. So unleash this talent that is potentially a bit, as EJ said, doesn't really fit into our traditional frameworks. It gives us an opportunity to understand that, but also give us a diversity of impact across our entire digital team. So it's not just about the ideas, it's not just about getting stuff done, it's how everybody plays at the right time, and in the right way, and is valued for it. What do we learn? Well, he just do it. So this is the group CIO of Orange says just do it, right? Like, I mean, it helps you reveal game changers and value profile diversity. It really increases self-confidence in fast-moving environments. Now, it shows people how they can be adaptive. Yeah, that's really quite important when it comes to digital transformation, and it increases diversity acceptance. You just want to go and get things done. Oh, great, I need someone like you. Or you think about how this all fits in. Oh, that's great, I need that. Show me what we need to do, whatever it might be. Diversity acceptance. And he just says it just brings superior performance. If you've got a good GC Index cocktail, these are his words, very French. A GC Index cocktail. I haven't made it. We've had some GC Index cocktails, but I don't think he's referring to drink. So just finally, potential improvements. Get the GC Index benchmarks with peers in your industry. That's something that they wanted to work on. Get some telco benchmarks. Definitely include the GC Index in my leadership assessment. Start from the top. Yeah. And then integrate the GC into a standard component of recruitment and HR leadership assessments. And then what would he do in order? If you want to know more about the digital maturity model for the telco sector, you would do that first. Assess your CIO teams with a mix, the company leadership model, the GC Index, choose relevant CIO teams, the digital model, and extend and cascade the GC Index, profiling, BPR and all CIO teams. So this is the recommendation of what should be done just by Orange. But as I say, there are hundreds. But hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of it working in practice. Okay.
Thank you very much. Because I'm going to go straight to Andrew right now. And what I basically want to know is that, Andrew, you've almost beaten up everyone with digital transformation. So we're going to have to find a new language to be communicating right now. So maybe GC Index works for me. But I looked at a presentation by Nathan, and there are 2 things that stood out for me. One is that I'm grateful that there's an African institution, the First National Bank, on the list, which I saw there. And that's a South African institution, very good. I've also seen that I can benchmark that myself. But I also saw something interesting about the delivery team and the spread within the delivery team, and that seems to be much more a different thing. I begin to see where impact can be measured. The third thing I saw was that this is a CTO-led anchored change initiative. So, Andrew, before we take questions, can you just help me put all these things together in context of how a Nigerian organization, I think I've asked that question, but I'm still going to ask it again. Because the challenge is always convincing the board about the first move. What do we need to therefore do right now? I say, let us take it forward and then move on with it. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, let me start by saying in my decade, more than decade in Nigeria, one of the things about the Nigerian leaders is that they're generally very open with new ideas. I mean, we all know how many people go for their training courses at Wharton and London Business School and Harvard. They embrace new things. They enjoy training. So I think that there is an openness for these sorts of ideas on there. I think though, the one thing that's critical to make sure we communicate is, unlike really, if you ask about digital transformation, the way I would say it is, it made it very difficult to have an individual star. Like if you think of a bank traditionally 20, 25 years ago, I mean, you would have basic risk management processes, but then you would send someone up to be in charge of, say, the North, so to speak, based in Abuja. They're running all the branches in the North. And then they have an individual P&L on that, and they're measured on that. The problem now is that to deliver anything from a bank or financial institution literally takes hundreds of people, different teams, technology, risk management. There's no individual who is driving it. So if you take that as the starting point, then you have to have a team that functions well. And then I think that what's the most powerful about it, again, I'm pointing at the screen, and I think Nathan really hit it, is it's not just a question of having the right balance between strategists and playmakers and polishers. It's also having people recognize that the other capabilities or the other strengths are critical. So, I mean, I am someone that really values polishers in my organization. I really value people that make change happen, the implementer. And so I want to make sure in all of my teams that I've got that strength, for example. But if you have someone who's a great polisher who doesn't recognize the role of the playmaker, the game changer, is not a great polisher, because it's not going to work on that. So I actually think that the key, everyone can understand this framework, and it makes sense. But to make it operational, you also need to make sure in your organization, quite frankly, if you don't have the right people, you need to change them. I just come back to that message. But the people need to have this diversity acceptance. And I think that this sort of training, and of course, it's not just the individual taking the GC index. I think that's powerful. But what the most powerful use of this is when people get together and find out that they're different, and then start to have the value of the differences, the value of the diversity acceptance. So that's what I would say to Nigerian CEOs. But it's like anything on this world, if people don't adapt to what's going to make them successful, they're not going to survive. So some organizations will pick up on ideas, this sort of idea, GC index or other ideas to help them, and they will do better. The other organizations will, by natural selection, kind of come to an end. So, but I would urge really for CEOs and boards to think about this sort of approach, because it is so pragmatic. I think Nathan also hit it on the head. No one's ever made a decision with MBTI, but with this, you can make decisions on how you conduct your business.
Excellent point. Thank you, my dear panelists. I'm going to go straight to the questions and answers. And to help me with that, I'm going to invite Andy to help me with the questions that the distinguished audiences have been putting together. So Andy will guide us with that. I must also say that while we're taking the question and answers, please hold on. We would like to do a demo presentation by Nathan. There will be one on the GCX index team profiles as a gift for those who are participating in here. And we're lucky that the questions are not too many from what I've seen, which shows the level of understanding already by those who are attending. And so we'll be able to move quickly into the presentation. And then maybe you will have follow questions after the demonstration I would love to take. Andy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Femi. Yeah, so we've had a question over from Isaac Adiza. He's asked, how can digital transformation and game changer index bolster productivity and financial performance, as well as sustainability in an audit or consulting firm?
And that would naturally go to Nathan or Andrew.
So we have a number of consulting and audit firms that we've worked with, or they're actually our partners. So people like Deloitte, FTI, and in terms of the partners. Really, if we take it back down to real basics in terms of productivity, think about how many great working relationships you've had before, productive relationships. When you've worked with someone for 2, 3, 4 years, you sort of have that learning and you know how you're both going to approach work together, right? You know that. Now, The challenge with that is it takes years to do that, right? Whereas so for the first thing is what the GC index does, it gets that productive relationship, not, oh, you're nice and I'm nice, and oh, you're a bit extroverted and I'm a bit introverted, be nice to each other. Not that, I mean, really, this is how we're going to impact the organization together, that type of relationship. So rather than having that months, weeks, years to do that, the GC can give you that in hours, maybe a couple of days. So the productivity comes very, very quickly in people understanding how to work with each other to deliver work, to deliver outcomes remotely or otherwise, yeah, much quicker. So a lot of productivity comes from that, first of all. Secondly, is just like what Andrew was mentioning when it comes to teams, intra-team stuff and inter-team stuff, yeah. It's around, have I got the right team to deliver this? So if I've got an innovation team that has a bunch of implementer and polishers in it, are they the right team? Yeah, are they going to keep spinning wheels and not actually get the innovation I want? Or if I've got a delivery team that's very game changer strategist, are they really going to deliver stuff? They're not delivering what I need to do. That's an intra-team stuff. And inter-team stuff is, I've got a breakdown in communication. Often with digital transformation, there's often tensions at the boundaries. Tensions at the boundaries of teams, yeah, whether it's finance, marketing, whether it's innovation, sales, whatever. And really unlocking those tensions of the boundaries really drives that productivity. So what you're doing is you're delivering work with, you know, someone once said, half the people, twice the work in with half the people in half the time. So that's where the productivity comes from. Does that help for that answering that question, Isaac? If not, do raise your hand and
okay.
Some more.
Andrew, you want to chip in, please?
Well, I think with respect to firms like ours, like PwC, I mean, the digital transformation is well underway. I mean, one of the things that's happened over the past even decade is we use so many more we use automated tools to do things. So if you think of this, the core audit, for example, 20 years ago, we had armies of young people go in, pour through physical books. That doesn't happen right now. We build robotics and we build automated tools, as I said. The reporting is essentially in real time. So we're under the same pressure as everyone else on this. And if we don't go through continuously our own digital transformation, we're not going to be successful. I mean, at the end of the day, no one wants an audit 120 days after the book closes. What people really want is real-time information. And the only way that's going to come is digitally. And it also not only helps the client, but it drives down our own costs. As Nathan says, we're doing probably 3 times the work with a third of the people using these kinds of tools.
Excellent. Andy?
Just to add this, that's a great point, because we're talking a digital transformation. A lot of people believe that it's, you know, about doing exciting stuff with technology, but it can literally just be about certain efficiencies. I mean, it could be something as simple as lights off accounting. It could be a zero back office. It could be a bunch of things which are fundamentally automating existing processes. And that's very different to, we have to do things radically different using technology. So it's also the GC index helps frame what stuff do we just have to, business as usual stuff, do we have to digitally transform? What stuff do we have to incrementally improve? And what stuff do we have to transformationally change? And putting all that in the language and aligning people to those elements and what index does, which drives us further value and productivity.
Andy?
Okay, another question's come in. I love the picture of the model. So I'm assuming that's the game changer, strategist, implementer, polisher, playmaker, roundel. This model seems so simple, which is a great thing to help keep efficiencies running. But surely the best team to construct is a team which has one of each. What are the circumstances where that wouldn't be the case if there aren't any? And if it is the case, then surely, you know, how do we use the GC index if that is the case?
That's a great question.
That's for you.
Right. You're absolutely right. So firstly, the GC index is a data point. Okay. So, and it has, firstly, it has 3 levels. You have the very simplistic level, which we've said, the high level business model with strategist, game changer, implementer, playmaker. That creates a language. We have the next layer, which you'll see is we have, because people are more than just one. You know, you get scores out of 10. We all got elements of this. Yeah, so we're not all just a game changer or just a strategist. You'll see you get marks out of 10, so you can see has someone got some moderate energy for this, or no energy for this, or high energy for this. So you start to understand. So it's like a sporting analogy, yeah, right? If we've got to go onto the pitch and we've got no strikers, yeah, someone's got to play up front. Yeah, someone's got to play in strike. Who's going to do that? Yeah, so it gives you that conversation to see, well, who's got a secondary proclivity in this area, or who's got a strongest proclivity in this area? Can we play that role? Yeah, is the current team makeup fit for the business objectives? If not, where are the gaps? What do we do about it? Because we know what we're good at. Where do we have to go and get someone from outside? Do we have to really give extra attention to this area because we know it's not our strongest area? Yeah, or is there someone else in our organisation we could bring into this team? But you're absolutely right. It would be, we would like to see at least a balance of proclivities across all in teams, but not always possible, right? And Andrew will know, living in the world of professional services, we work a lot with professional services clients. It's who do we put on this project team? It's normally who's available, right? So because that's the way it goes. But what you're saying, what we can look at is who's best as well when it comes to forming teams, not just who is available.
So here's what we do, Andy. Permit me if I may come in here. My job is to keep the integrity of our time commitments, and I want to do so. But I think that the questions I've seen here, there are quite a couple more, quite interesting questions, some bordering more on the issues we've addressed, but most importantly, throwing more light on issues like the question asking about the negative unconscious bias that occurs, the question asking about organizational drive and the issue of trust, and we are operating in a society with a trust deficit. There's also the question about what you do about some of the other challenges. What I'm hoping we can do is to actually do the demonstration right now and use that demonstration to be able to encourage those who are still the participants in here. And then most of those questions would have been addressed in those demonstrations. So if we just proceed straight to the demonstration, I would appreciate if we do that now.
Yeah, I can do that for you. You mentioned that one about trusts, which is really important because a lot has been written about inclusive leadership, right? There's a whole world of, we've got to be an inclusive leader. We would take the view that unless